Welcome to Way Out Wednesday. I'm Dr. Ashley Southard with A New Beginning and The Healthy Way Out in Scottsdale, Arizona. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Now, this month, we're talking about the emotional function of your emotional and binge eating, really trying to get to the psychological root of why you do this behavior that, on the one hand, causes you so much distress and pain, and yet, on the other hand, you simply can't stop. Now, today I want to draw the very important and sensitive connection between emotional and binge eating and possible sabotaging of weight loss efforts. Now, before I go any further, I want to acknowledge that I know this segment won't resonate with all of you watching. Certainly, not all people struggling with emotional and binge eating have a personal goal of weight loss. I also want to acknowledge that by even talking about weight or weight loss in no way implies or suggests that anybody living in a higher weight body should feel as though they have to or should lose weight. Instead, we're talking about this issue today because for so many people struggling with emotional and binge eating, weight loss is a personal goal, and it's often not a personal goal coming from a place of vanity. What I hear so often from the incredible clients that I work with is that they are wanting to lose weight because the body that they're living in right now is really preventing them from doing activities that are so meaningful and so important to them. Things like being able to hike our beautiful Grand Canyon with their best friends that they simply can't do in their higher weight body right now, or being able to celebrate their 50th birthday with skydiving, but they can't do it right now in a higher weight body. I also hear gut-wrenching stories from clients who are battling some very serious and scary medical conditions that have been brought on by their higher weight. And because of their work, because they're learning to love themselves, they do want to lose the weight. They want to get into a body size where their body is functioning at its best, where they have a long life ahead of them, where they can do all kinds of wonderful activities that fill up their souls and really bring color to their lives. So weight loss is a very personal and important goal for so many of the emotional and binge eaters that we work with. And yet what's really perplexing for so many of them is while it's such an important and personal goal for them, they often find themselves undermining and sabotaging their weight loss efforts, sometimes even undoing the weight loss progress that they make. And so this is what I want to talk about today. Why on earth are you finding yourself sabotaging your weight loss efforts? Well, we know that there's a very strong part of you that most definitely wants to lose this weight for reasons I just mentioned. However, as we start to unpack, dig a little deeper, and really look at what's going on, oftentimes what we find is that there's actually a second part of you that is also very strong and powerful that actually wants you to maintain this higher weight. Now, what on earth am I talking about, this second part of you that wants to maintain this higher weight? Well, what I'm talking about is this higher weight serving as a protective barrier between you and really painful feelings of rejection, criticism, and failure. Now, there's two ways that clients often talk about this phenomenon playing out. The first way is that they find themselves really holding back, really kind of staying in a comfort zone or a safety zone as a result of their weight. And how this might show up is in statements like, well, when I lose 20 pounds, then I will do X, Y, and Z. When I lose that weight, then I will start to take those risks. It's as if the weight holds them back, keeps them in this safety zone where they don't put themselves out there as much. They don't take as many risks. They don't try as many new things. And this is a safety zone because if you don't put yourself out there, you're really not exposed to a lot of failure, criticism, or rejection. You got to put yourself out there. You got to try new things, but in doing so, of course, you're going to fall down. You're going to fail. People are going to reject you and criticize you. That's a really tough thing to go through. And if you don't really have a roadmap for how to handle that emotional pain, it makes a lot of sense then that you're going to want to hang back in this safety zone, and the weight might be a way for you to do that. Now, the other way in which clients talk about this phenomenon playing out is that if and when those experiences do happen where they feel criticized, rejected, or like somehow they have failed, then the weight can come in and serve as a reason for why that may have happened. So, I put myself out there, I tried this new thing and it didn't go well. Well, it probably was because of my weight. Now, there's one caveat here that I think is really important, and that is that weight bias and weight stigma is a very real thing. People do put themselves out there, and unfortunately, they are criticized, rejected, or fail because of their weight. That does happen. But that's not what I'm talking about right now. What I'm talking about right now is more of the internal dialogue that happens within the person themselves, that when they go through an experience and it doesn't turn out the way that they want it to, they may tell themselves it's probably because of my weight, even if there isn't any supportive evidence that that's really the reason why. And so it's as if maintaining this higher weight gives you a reason for why some of this pain might happen in your life. It almost like absorbs that emotional pain. And if you think about it, if the higher weight wasn't there, well, then what would be the reason for this criticism or rejection or feeling of failure? Well, then we start swimming around in really difficult thoughts like, geez, what's wrong with me? Am I not smart enough? Am I not interesting enough? What is it about me that people don't like, that they're rejecting me or criticizing me or that I'm failing? And again, if you don't have a roadmap for how to take care of yourself and nurture yourself during times of failure or setback, or during times of criticism or rejection, that can be a really painful experience and certainly one that you want to avoid. So maintaining a higher weight for some people can be the way in which they can explain some of those experiences to themselves and try to make that emotional pain a little less intense. So I'm wondering if this is resonating with you, kind of looking at how maintaining a higher weight and sabotaging weight loss efforts can actually serve to protect you from feelings of rejection, criticism, and failure. If you're finding that this is resonating with you, I invite you to consider this simple yet poignant question that may illuminate the very personal relationship for you between your emotional and binge eating and the sabotaging that you may find with your weight loss efforts. And here's the question. What are you afraid would happen if you were in a smaller or lower weight body? What are you afraid would happen if you were in a smaller or lower weight body? Take a moment to write that down. I want to make it really clear that by asking this question about a smaller or lower weight body, again, is not implying that that is what you should be striving for, that somehow you should be in a smaller or lower weight body. That's not it at all. The purpose of this question is to put you into the future, into this place that you think you want to be at, and really give yourself some space to imagine, what are the feelings that come up when you think about that? What are the thoughts that you have? What are the scenarios that start running through your mind that cause you anxiety? Thinking about being in a smaller or lower weight body can be very helpful to connect with what those fears might be. And if you can connect with those fears, you can start to respond to those fears in a more authentic and helpful way. And if you can respond to those fears, then you may not need this higher weight to protect you. If you don't need the higher weight to protect you, perhaps you don't need the emotional and binge eating to maintain the higher weight. And if you don't need the emotional and binge eating, then maybe you are starting to find true lasting freedom from food, which is absolutely possible and most definitely something that you're deserving of. So take some time with yourself to ponder this question. What are you afraid would happen if you were in a smaller or lower weight body? Be really open-hearted to whatever kind of data comes forward for you, any kinds of thoughts or feelings you might be having, and see if you can unpack your relationship between emotional and binge eating and weight loss. I hope that you have found this segment helpful. I've really tried to navigate this very sensitive and personal topic in a way that is both respectful and helpful. So hopefully I've hit my mark. I look forward to seeing you back here next week for our next Way Out Wednesday. In the meantime, don't forget to check out Dr. Julie's Not Your Typical Eating Disorder Recovery Tips Tuesday and our segment From Hunger to Fulfillment, where we come together, answer your questions about eating disorders, recovery, and everything in between. I hope you have a beautiful holiday, and I can't wait to see you back here next week. Take care. Bye-bye.